The Boston Bruins fall to the Washington Capitals in a shootout. Final score 2-1. Mariah, Janos, and Marinofsky here. Slow start for the Bruins, only generating 2 shots in the first 20 minutes of play, but the physicality was key. It was there from start to finish, despite the lack of shots being generated. Such an entertaining game, and a big part of it was due to the young guy, the new kid, Trent Frederic. What are your thoughts on him?
I mean, where do you start? It takes a lot of guts to go up to Alex Ovechkin, who is maybe the greatest goal scorer of this generation.
Mm-hmm.
A kid that Trent Frederic certainly looked up to growing up. Someone who, when Andrei Svechnikov did that a couple of years ago, knocked him out. I mean, Ovechkin is an extremely underrated fighter and very tough, very tough. To go up to Ovechkin and drop your gloves and grab him by the collar and be like, let's go. That takes balls, which we'll get to in a bit, how Ovechkin tried to physically remove them.
I was going to say, cut them off. Yeah.
Yeah, castrate them on the ice. But it does go to show how that is a Bruin. Whether you like where the NHL is going or not to the speed and skill game, that is an old time Bruin right there. And I've said this a lot over the past couple weeks of the season. The Bruins haven't had someone in a long time who would willingly go do that. Would willingly go drop the gloves with Ovechkin just to drop the gloves with Ovechkin. Just to get under his skin.
Mm-hmm.
To be a real agitator. The Bruins have not had one since probably Milan Lucic. I mean, I know they have Marchand, obviously.
Young Marchand.
Marchand's turned way – they have Marchand, but Marchand's obviously turned into way more of a skill guy and a playmaking kind of guy, a really good defensive forward, as we saw Wednesday night. It was good to hear Pierre kind of give him some Selke, hype, because he's very good in his own zone.
Yeah.
But a true agitator, it feels like they haven't had in a while, who also can just throw them. I mean, obviously we know Frederic can fight. So the physicality side of things, I mean, Frederic is really turning into this agitator for them.
Mm-hmm.
The question, and this has sort of been the thing that keeps getting brought up in pressers with Bruce and with everyone, is where's the offensive game come in? And it's showing itself. I don't think anyone expected Frederic to come in and put up these monster numbers. I don't think anyone expects that of him, even in his prime, to put up all these big offensive numbers. I think this, what people kind of think of Frederic as a third line center. Which people kind of look at and go, a first rounder, why'd you do that on a third line center? That's debatable. But again, Marchand was not a first round pick, but when Marchand began his career, and for the first few years, no one expected Marchand to become what he's become. Now, I'm not saying Frederic's going to be a 100-point a game player, or 100 point a year player. No one expects that, but there's offense there. Everywhere he's went, he's produced, whether that be college or Providence. You see him setting up plays well against the Rangers on Sunday. He had some really nice setups. So there's offense there. There's a lot of untapped potential, and it's really nice to see him, that offensive game is kind of taking shape to impact the game in other ways with the big hits and with trying to fight.
Yeah, I mean, we heard Brad Marchand tonight or Wednesday night talking about how those fights give everyone energy, especially with no fans in the arena. They need to pull from somewhere. So having the young kid come in and do that is awesome. I know for me, my biggest concern was, okay, let's not get too carried away focusing everything on the fighting and not on your actual game, just as you kind of just mentioned. But I mean, we heard again, both Bruce Cassidy and Brad Marchand talking about how he's been able to toe the line pretty well. He hasn't overstepped that boundary just yet. And it's something, like you mentioned, it's so Bruin-esque, if you will, that it's supported here. It's just, I want to make sure going forward, that's what I'm going to look out for, is making sure that he doesn't overstep that, because that's when it then becomes an issue and just takes away from his game and it starts hindering the Bruins rather than helping them out.
Yeah, and the other thing is, Cassie mentioned this tonight, was the impact. Every guy in the line needs to have an impact in the game in some way. Penalty killing, power play, 5-on-5 scoring, hits, whatever it might be. Pick your poison. His right now is getting under the skin of other teams' best players. And, to get a guy like Ovechkin, who's, the leader of that Capitals team, the best player, a veteran, a guy who's not just going to lose his cool, to get him to just spear you in the junk, in full sight, to just get him to do that, that's skill. Like, that is not something where you just go, hey, Ovi, like, you suck. That is all game, and NBC showed a montage of it, of just going at Ovechkin, just going up to him, like, just getting in his face. And it's bold, and it's ballsy as hell, no pun intended.
So much pun intended.
So many dick jokes on Twitter after the game, or during the game, excuse me. It was it was so much. But it took me back to like 6th grade. But at any rate, it does go to show, though, like, you know, the guts. I mean, that takes guts, man. Like, to just do that. And Connor had a great tweet during the game of, like, the list of players Frederic will have by the end of the year. I mean, Tom Wilson, Brendan Lemieux, Alex Ovechkin. You can go down the list of every team. There's someone on that team. PK Subban. Like, he's got someone everywhere.
Absolutely. This is a straight up bucket list for him. And he's just going to cross guys off every single game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just like after Sunday's game, someone was like, someone asked him, are you jealous that Richie kind of got a shot at Lemieux and you didn't? And most guys would just kind of be like, oh, no, happy for Rich, had a good fight, blah, 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 cliche. But he comes out and it's just like, yeah, I was. Like, I want to fight him. Like, and that is so refreshing. Because, again, I like where the game's going with speed and skill. I think it's a much better product. Obviously during the playoffs and stuff, it is nice to go back and look at those 2011 Bruins games where it's just guys getting nailed. And just, cutting across the middle of the ice and getting mollywopped. Like, that is cool. But at the same time, it is nice to see that physicality come back to the Bruins a little bit. Because again, like, I used to make fun of people when they'd be like, oh, the Bruins need an enforcer. Because, most of the time they'd be referring to like Zach Ronaldo or someone like that, who has no real impact on a game at all, except like, making dirty plays or trying to fight, the other team. Frederic toes the line. Like, Frederic has not done anything dirty. Frederic hasn't, I don't believe Frederic's taken any like dumb penalties. Even the one time where they called him for roughing, it was like, what? That's a rough? Like, the guy got, hitting the junk after. So, nevertheless, it is fascinating to watch Frederic just become a fan favorite. And it's unfortunate there aren't fans at the games because no doubt Frederic
going nuts.
Not only nuts, I think Frederic's jersey and his T-shirt would be one of the most sold, I would assume. And like all the like the bootleg T-shirt places outside the garden would have like Trent Frederic Fight Club, those shirts and stuff, like $10 on the edge of Causeway Street. So it's unfortunate there aren't fans there, but it is great to see Frederic sort of blossom into this guy. But again, waiting for the offense to take shape.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's no T-shirts yet, but they'll start printing them pretty soon with fans coming into the Garden.
I think Barstool did I think they did print a Frederic jersey, but the Bruins will. I think the Bruins will definitely capitalize.
Absolutely. So everyone go buy your Trent Frederic shirts. I'm going to do it right now. And he's certainly a guy to keep an eye on for the remainder of the season, see where his game takes him, see where these fights take him. But he's certainly adding a new level of entertainment to this game that we have really needed, especially in a season like this. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on. For all of our Bruins coverage, head to clnsmedia.com and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel over at Bruins Rinkside.